men plus the keeper around the batsman.
There we go. Fleming took the last one. Merv Hughes before him.
That's a hat-trick to Shane Warne, a great moment in his career. What a catch by David Booth. You won't see many better catch than forward short leg than that one. The Aussies are all around, and have a look at that.
Welcome back, ladies and gents, to another episode of the SuperCoach Tragics podcast. This is our round 5 edition. So we're starting a bit early tonight. The game hasn't started yet, the last game, so I want to get it up and running before round 5 started. So with us tonight, we have, as usual, we have Glenn, coach of Tigers for Life. How you going, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Good week.
Yeah, good week. No, your score's looking pretty good, mate. There's not many out there that are bigger than yours, so hoping for nice green arrows for you this week.
Yeah, hopefully.
And also Roscoe, coach of I'm in Pain. How's your week going, mate?
Yeah, I think I'm doing pretty well this week. Sitting on about 579 with about 3 players left tonight, so pretty happy with it. Other than stuffing up my VC loop, but that's okay. Hopefully Nessa will redeem that for me for tonight.
Very nice. Yeah, I think I'm versing you in one of my head-to-heads, and you're looking pretty good there. So well done, mate. And last but not least, we have Brod from Brod's Broncos, mate. Having such a good week and good run at the moment, you decided to come back on.
Yeah, I only turn up when things are good or I want some money off people. So, it's a good time.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, you're having a pretty good week yourself as well, aren't you? Not too bad.
Yeah, well, obviously I had the little Renegade spinner as my vice captain. So it's my 3rd week. I think I'm going to now one of the best players as my vice captain. So it's good.
Yeah, better than that NRL stuff, mate, where we missed our vice every single week. So unlike myself, I keep missing my vice captain. However, this week I did get Hossein as vice captain, so I'm pretty happy with that. My first week I've actually got my captain right. So I'm sitting pretty average, but yeah, I think I've definitely got room to improve, but I can come back and trouble some of the front runners up top there. All right, guys, let's get started. So we're going to talk about next week's round 5 double gamers. So we'll start off with the Renegades. We'll go with you, Glenn. You got a predicted lineup there, mate?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I'm not sure how right we are with it, but I'm going to go with what I think's right, which is Guptill, Maddo, Marsh, Finch, Wells, Harvey, Hanscombe, Hussain, Rogers, Kane, Richo, and Majib. I've got Sutherland, Moody, and Rocchiolo dropping out. Rocchiolo, however you say it.
Yeah, I did notice it was a bit tricky. A lot of conjecture because the team itself, you got to look at all the players there. Like, there's potential other players that could drop out, like Harvey, and but yeah, it was a tough one to pick that lineup, wasn't it, Glenn?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, so we're just going off what we think they're going to do, but anything could happen on the day. So, but yeah, it could be a close one. But they've got some big guns coming in. It's going to be pretty. And then they're on top. They're coming second in the ladder right now as well, or 3rd. They're looking pretty good. So just in time, their firepower coming back, which is exciting. So we'll start with you, Ross. What players are we looking at bringing in? Do you reckon that will be something that we can look out for? Well,
I think Hussein's obviously the main one, but you should have already been on him at 207k. If you don't have him now, I don't think it's too late, but it's just a matter of who you're going to trade out to bring him in. That's the thing, because it's a lot of cash for one player who's only going to be here for potentially 2 or 3 more games and then leaves. And obviously the other ones for me, Tom Rogers would be one. Majib, I think, is underpriced as well, even though he's not been in great form. Kane Richardson's one to watch, but he hasn't been in great form this BBL either, but we know he's a proven gun. He's what his potential of. And obviously Sean Marsh will be another one too to keep an eye on. But this is the problem with him and Guptill, is that we haven't seen anything from them before the double. And Sean Marsh is a proven gun in the past, and Guptill, we know what he can do. But there's issues with him. He's 160k, and the thing is, are you going to be willing to pay that for just a batsman?
Yeah, that's the tricky part I find this week, especially when we often can risk a little sneaky VC on one of these players in case it doesn't work out. But this week we can't do that. So noticing that the 2 double gamers play each other twice, and if we're going to do a VC option, we're going to have to NFL. We're going to need to choose a single gamer to try and get our captain right. So, which would normally be a match short, but they got the bye, so it's going to be a tricky round.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Anyone there that we haven't really touched on there that you're all looking at from the Renegades?
Oh, there's
No,
a
I
few.
just don't have too much faith, mate.
I think they're actually playing quite well, the Renegades, and a lot of them are sharing their points around as well. So especially I know everyone's talking about like Guptill, a big name there, and Sean Marsh coming back as well. Is there anyone thinking about Finch, Glenn?
Yeah, Finch is definitely in my mind. It's just the fact that he bats down so low is the reason that I don't. That's probably one of the best top 4 lineups in the BBL from my perspective. I just want to correct something too. So I miscounted. I had 12 in there. So take Harvey out and put Moody back in. It gives me 5 bowlers with Majid, Kane, Rogers, Moody and Hussain. So I feel like that could be the side, or Sutherland, but I doubt Sutherland. I just don't see Sutherland getting in there.
Yeah, and the tough one considering that like you look at the lineup and you think like the players that have already played this year versus who they've got now, the team they've named, it makes it really hard to pick, because if you all these players that have been doing okay, like Sutherland, for example, you're gonna have to drop out. So because to make way for these new guns that are coming in. So yeah, it's definitely a tough one to pick. So we'll have to keep an eye out tomorrow for that one.
I think too, if people are going to start targeting bowlers from the Sixers against the Renegades, I might caution you on not going too many. A minute ago, you mentioned that people are stealing numbers from each other. In BBL, for me, usually when one bowler takes a couple, it usually means a lot of the bowlers will all get something. Usually, if your openers get something, it sort of pays its way through. So sometimes it can actually work in your favour to have a few bowlers from the one side. But I really caution people on this one. It's a double matchup of Sixers, Renegades. They're playing each other twice. And I'm not sure if going heavy on bats is a good idea to start. Yeah,
that's the thing. When it comes to the batters, especially, how often do you see a scorecard where everyone's got like 40? You know what I mean? It's very rare. So you just need to make sure you get that right batter if that's the case. So anything else we want to talk about the Renegades before we move on to the Sixers?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I thought someone else would say this. So 2 things I wanted to point out. So one is Guptill, 160K, in my opinion, is a lot of money to spend on a bat, and on just bat. I only have all-rounders at the moment at my bat, and that's the way I normally play. But Guptill's an exception. He's an absolute gun. He's a weapon. He's coming from New Zealand, which is a ground that's not too dissimilar to our own. So I just put some real thought process into whether or not you go Guptill. And the other one's Maddo. Maddo, I think, is an interesting perspective if he's bowling, but it's too much to pay for just a bat. But the fact that the next 2 games are spin-friendly decks, there is a scenario I see where, depending on the team lineup, that Maddo could even bowl a couple.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, if you jump on Maddo and he did take the ball, it's a big risk, but it can actually be a really good one.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys, we'll move on to the Sixers. So Ross, have you been working on a team there for the Sixers, mate?
Yeah, well, unless barring Stock being ruled out for his injury that he came off with yesterday, I'm expecting them to be unchanged, which is Pattinson, Philippi, Vince, Henriquez, Silk, Christian, Kerr, Abbott, Bird, O'Keefe, and Naveed. I think if O'Keefe's out, with his injury, then I'm expecting probably Todd Murphy to come in to replace him. But who knows? It could be Naveen. I don't know. I'm not too sure, because they did only play 2 internationals the last game last night. So, but I just want to say on the Sixers, if you are going to load up on extra players, because people have been asking, what do you think is a good number for this round, for how many you should have for this double? I said 5 to 6. I think it's probably plenty. But if you're going to go a bit heavier, I'd probably be loading up on more Sixers, just for the fact that they've got another double coming up a couple of rounds later.
Yeah. I'm looking at getting 6 myself as well. I think that's how much I'm going to have. I don't want to go any higher. I think it's. I don't like to have more than 3 or 4 in one team. 4 is pushing it. But yeah, I think 3 in each team is pretty solid idea, I reckon. So, Brad, any players from the Sixers there, mate, that you're eyeing off?
No, well, I've got Kerr, and I'll probably go. I'll definitely be getting Abbott in, but just not too sure. Obviously, I'll see when this team drops and see see who's bowling and how bad Sock's injury is before I probably make any trades.
Yeah, I'm contemplating on whether to fade Abbott, which is a crazy move, I know. Just because, like we touched on before, the batters on both teams are pretty solid. I think they need to get we know Abbott can do it. We know Abbott can get wickets, but that's a solid batting lineup there. So I'm tempted to save some money and go a different way, but that's just me. Glenn, anyone else that you're thinking of, mate?
Yeah, so the first thing I was going to say was the first three batsmen, points per dollar, make good sense from the Sixers: Philippe, Patterson and Vince. Having said that, I really rate this lineup from the Gauge, the bowling lineup. I think all five of their bowlers are very good bowlers. So you could even look a little bit deeper down the line, like a Moses Henriques or somebody. Kerr is an obvious choice for everyone. Chance he gets to bat and bowl. But on Abbott, I think, based on the top four playing for the Renegades, I'm not 100% sure he's a buy. You know, I mean, what I'm saying to you is I don't disagree with your fade.
Yeah. The only thing that scares me a little bit is the fact that he is that death bowler as well that can take those wickets at the end when they need to fire up. So that's I think that'll probably change my mind. I think is that whether I believe he's going to get those, which he will get those death overs and maybe jag a few sneaky junk wickets at the end there. Roscoe, any players we haven't touched on yet that you're looking at that went off?
I don't mind Moses as a pod, to be honest with you. I know he's not bowling because he doesn't like to bowl himself. He's just one of the captains that doesn't. But, you know, you've seen that their top order hasn't been firing this year, and, you know, he's coming in pretty early. So I don't hate the move. I'd be all over him if he was definitely bowling. Kerr's obviously we've touched on already, and Philippe's obviously another one. But I agree with Abbott too, but I just fear not getting Abbott is going to come back to bite me because we know what his potential of. He bowls death, as you said, and he hasn't fired this year so far. So it does mean he's due to come good, and that's what scares me. But like Glenn said, that batting lineup of the Renegades is pretty good. So it's not like they're playing Thunder or another one of those weaker sides that's got that, you know, really weak batting lineup. So I don't hate the Abbott fade, but I think I'm just going to be too scared not to own him. You know, most people are going to have him. And if he fires and you don't own him, then you're going to fall behind the eight ball for sure.
When we're talking about death bowling too, Abbott
that's the thing. Like, I know
will only bowl one most likely. Kerr bowled two the other night. Abbott bowled two up front, one round in the power play, and then one at the end. So you know that Kerr was the one that bowled the death overs the other night, and DC.
I just think that if you're coming down to make the decision between if you're going to go Kerr or if you're going to go Abbott, I think Kerr's going to be the better buy to myself.
Absolutely,
and at a pretty similar price too. Actually, Kerr might even be a bit more.
I'm definitely
after Abbott drops cash this week too. Kerr will go up.
If Sixers bat first, I might be tempted to go the pod of DC.
No, he's not. He hasn't been bowling.
He did bowl. He bowled three the other night.
Yeah, but he hasn't bowled the game before that though.
No, that's right. But I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm doing. I'm saying that it's the risk that I was thinking of taking. Pay him off the bench. If they bat first, I might consider that option actually.
Yeah.
I already have Kerr.
I haven't got Kerr yet. I went Philippe out of the Sixers before I went to I'll get Kerr this week, but I'll be getting Kerr this week. That's a no-brainer for me, and then we'll just all depends on who else I go. I think I've already got one Sixer at the moment, so that'll make two. And then I'm thinking about going potentially a batter, which is a bit of a risk, I know, but I like the idea of getting a decent batter up top there as well. Alrighty, guys. I think that wraps the Sixers up. So what I want to talk about now, guys, is a bit of strategy going into this round. It's going to be a bit tricky, as we just discussed earlier, but both the double game teams play each other in game one and in the final game. I think it was game 5. There's 5 games this week. So what are your thoughts on VCC this week? I'll start with you, Glenn.
Well, I mean, the obvious one's probably going to be Hussain, but I wouldn't look past Kane Richo as an option either. And I think Guptill will be popular. I think a lot of people that will buy Guptill because they just know how good he is. And, you know, you never know. He's the kind of player that could get back-to-back big scores. He's an incredible player. I just think that it's a lot of money to pay. But yeah, that'd be my VC option. And then if that fails, I'd probably go into Sam's or Nisa.
Yeah, definitely. Roscoe, what are your thoughts, mate? Are you going to be going into? I'll tell you what. The reason why I'm asking this is because personally, I'm looking at just going straight up captain onto the player in the first game, just because I don't want to. I've got Nisa there, but there's a bit of conjecture around what Nisa is doing as well with potentially moving forward. So, I'm only saying, yeah. So, what are your thoughts? Are you going to go VC and the C this week, or are you just going to go the C option, Roscoe?
I think I'm going to go the balls out play and just go straight C on the player in the first game because, I mean, like I've done this before last season where the same thing happened and it actually paid off. But obviously you've got to choose the right one. But I'm actually thinking going straight C, straight on Hussein or Hayden Kerr potentially. I think Kerr would be, pretty much a pod option for a straight C. I like the Guptill shout, but I just wanted to see something of him before I can put the balls out on the table and go straight C on him. Philippi could be another one too. I know he's not in great form, but we know what he's capable of. I just think this is the week that if you want to go the pod play and go straight C choice, this is the week to do it. You don't want to be VC looping and taking someone out of your team that potentially could go big either. So I don't hate the idea, to be honest with you.
You don't have to take anyone out of your team to loop. You still, whoever you take off, you can still get their score.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I mean, just
That's the best thing about BBL.
Yeah.
Adelaide and Hobart have to buy this weekend, so most people would have Shadab, probably Khan,
short as well. Yeah,
so you should be covered for VC options. I mean, look, go straight C if you want to, but to me, it's sort of madness. I mean, what happens if you go VC and after the first over something happens to him and you've got no recourse? Or you can do the safe bet VC and still get the points anyway, and you've done it.
No, I get what you're saying. It's a free shot at the loop.
Yeah.
I think my plan really was more to do with the players that we pick. Whether I think it's everyone's going to maybe you want to go a balls out pod. I'm actually looking to go on extremely safe this week, and doing the Hossein or the Kerr. I think if you do go balls out pod and go say Guptill, he gets out for 2 ducks, then he gets it out for a duck the first night, then you're forced to do Sam's or you're forced to do Nisa, and then which is not the worst thing in the world. But they only got one game, do you know what I mean? So that's what I'm thinking. It might be to get a higher score, play it safer this week. But I will shout out, Glenn mentioned earlier that the bowling lineup for the Renegades is pretty solid. And I think when Ross mentioned before about Kerr being the other option to be a captain, I like that because he might get be utilised with the bat as well, which could be. So I'm liking the idea of actually putting I was looking at Hossein as a very safe option, but I think Kerr might be a good option too.
See, often what I do is I'll have 3 this round. I'll have 3 Adelaide players start on the field. And that way I'll have 3 players on my bench, like 5 players on my bench. So the way it works is that I can take one score. If I don't like it, then I can take the other. You know what I mean? Like you put the E on one. If that fails, then you've got the opportunity of taking that off and bringing that other one on. So it's like 3 chances. So I just make sure you really utilise that loop, guys. Like it's the trick to BBL.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just my perspective, guys. But
no, all good. That's what we're here for. All right, so we're going to do a bit of discussion about what we think is going to happen moving forward with a couple of players. I know we had Green and Stark potentially out next test. So what does that mean for Nisa? I'll start with you, Glenn.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they go 2 spinners, it could be someone like Swepson or Agar. But if they don't, I mean, Nisa's the one that seems to fit the bill best to like for like. Green, Nisa, I think like for like is the obvious choice.
Yeah. What are our thoughts on say someone like Lance Morris, who's already in the squad there as well, to help with replacing Stark, and we've got Hazelwood obviously as well. But I understand Green being the all rounder, but would they go with a one less batter, or do you reckon it's going to be more than likely Nisa over Lance Morris?
Oh well, personally, I think they need the bat bowl an all rounder. But the fact I actually forgot about Lance Morris being there, and geez, he's a wild man. I hope he gets a crack because I really like watching him bowl, and I think we have enough depth in our side anyway. But I personally think that all rounder like for like, but we're not the selectors, are we?
That's it. What are your thoughts, Roscoe?
Well, I think as long as he's fit to go, Hazel will definitely come in for start. There's no doubt about that. And depending on whether they want to play a second spinner, which I don't think they really need to, given they've got Head in the team, they've got Smith, and they've also got Labuschagne. All depends on whether they want to get one of the guys in like Agar or Swepson in for the Indian tour to, but as we've seen recently, that SCG pitch isn't what the pitch it used to be. It's not the spin-friendly pitch it's been. Like even last year, they didn't go in with two spinners either. So I think, personally, I think Hazelwood will come in. I think if Green is out, I think the other spot will probably go to maybe Lance Morris, I think, or even Agar. I don't think I'll bring Nesta in. But that's no more than hope than anything.
Yeah, we got our SuperCoach hats on there.
Yes.
So, what are your thoughts, Brod?
I think, especially, looks like we're going to win this test. I think they need to build for the future, because obviously there's going to be a fair few retirements coming up, probably after the Ashes, and we've got the Indian tour. So I'd be looking at what we could do to obviously get ready for those tests if we wrap this one up. But I doubt we'll see anyone brand new, but I'd like to see it.
Yeah. And also, if they want to replace, whether they want to replace his bowling or his batting, like they could also look at someone like a Renshaw as well, who's could be an option there as well to pop in there to help with that top 4 batting spot as well, or top 5 batting spot. So just another option there. But I think that's just us hoping that Nisa stays in the BBL. So
100%.
All right, guys. I think that pretty much wraps everything up. Is there anything else got anything to say before we move on?
Yeah, we got questions from viewers, remember?
Mm-hmm.
A shitload of them, actually. So I'll ask them. Hold on, just give me half a second, guys. Sorry. All right, first question's from Corey Blackwell. Vince or Guptill, who should I pick as a batter?
Guptill.
If they're your choices, I'd go Guptill.
I think it's gonna come down to the makeup of the rest of your team and and all that sort of stuff, because obviously you're looking at 80k difference in price. So it's really going to depend on who you're trading out and what the rest of the makeup of your team is before I could make that decision depending on the rest of the team.
Fair enough. Yeah. Also, my answer was Vince. Points per dollar wise, I think Vince makes more sense. But Guptill's a class act. I was worried about Duplessis. I'm more worried about Guptill than I am Duplessis. So let me just say it from that perspective. But anyway, we'll see how it plays out. Moody, is he an option? If picked?
I think he's on the fringe. It's going to be a challenge. Even if he does play the first game, there's no guarantee he plays the second game, especially if they lose the first game, for example. They might want to do a big change-up. So it's just a bit risky.
Yeah, I agree. I think Moody's definitely good enough to pick him on the coach side. I just don't think that his job security is what we want from him. Real game players negate each other. Points given that they play each other twice. From Nathan Lamb.
I think you can select a team. If you're only going to go 5 or 6 players from the double game, I think you can select a team that kind of complements each other. Yeah. So, like last night, I was watching the game, getting really annoyed because I had 2 batters get bowled cleanly by my bowler. So I had a lot of mixed feelings. So, but definitely you can set up a team, I believe. So, for example, we all know like Abbott bowls. Usually the bowls up 2 up front, and then he bowls that 1 in the middle and then 1 at the back there. So if you find like a middle order batsman per se, like a someone like maybe a Finch, for example, that's been there for a while now, he won't need to actually face up against Abbott. So there are ways. I know it's a lot of guesswork and it's educated guesswork, but you can get a pretty solid team that actually, you can match them up nicely.
Which is actually the right play. I mean, so what Dan's just pointed out there is that try not to buy bowlers that meet your batters or vice versa. It's kind of hard when the same team plays each other twice. But, if you think yourself, I'm going Abbott and I'm picking him as my captain, so I think he's good enough to take wickets up front. So who are those wickets he's going to take up front? So picking someone a little bit further down the bat is not a terrible option in a game like this. I don't hate that at all. Matthew Gibson, who's the best batting option for the Sixers? We've already said Philippe, Patterson, Vince and Moses would be the choice. And obviously Kerr. If you haven't got Kerr on your side, guys, do yourself a favour and get Kerr. And the last question, Kane Richo is normally such a shoo-in, but do we go Rogers? Do you think this is the season we go Rogers over Shuey? And we all have a say, and even Majib as well.
Yeah, going on form at the moment, I think you've got to go Rogers over Richardson, but we know what Richardson's capable of. That's the only thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Majib, and as I said with Majib, he hasn't been going great this year, but we know what he's capable of, and he's cheap. So, get him in for eventually.
Did Rogers bowl the death overs with Kane? Or Moody?
Well, Richardson was out.
Oh, that's right. That's why. Yeah. So it was Moody and Rogers then, was it?
Yeah, correct.
I'll check that, and I'll put it up on the page later and just check who bowled the death overs. But at least we know Richo's role. But I agree with you. I think Rogers is. I made the mistake at the start of the season of picking Siddle over Thornton, and when I thought about it later, I thought the young buck versus the old bull. Like it made more sense to go the young fella, and I don't know why I didn't do it. And that could be the same gameplay here with Kane Richo versus Rogers. Young buck versus old bull. Yeah, that's all the questions, Dano.
Yeah, all good. I was like thinking with I had the same question at the start. You went with Thornton over Siddle. Oh, you were thinking Thornton over Siddle. I actually asked a question right before the game started in our group chat and said, and I think Bob was there too. So I was like, I think I should go Thornton instead of Siddle. And everyone was like, nah, I think with Siddle, you'll be right. And I was like, all right. So, but unfortunately, Brod got Thornton and Brod took the lollies, unfortunately. So,
well, if you remember, I said I was going to fade Khan for Thornton. And
yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was it.
Told me I was madness. Had I done that, it would have been 160 something points better.
I just bought both instead.
Are we going to quickly just talk about some single game players that might be options for next round? That also too, for those who might be already loaded up on Sixers and Renegades, the only one that we think. I mean, obviously we should talk about Bo Webster. As we said earlier, 150k. I think he's going to be priced at now. Which is quite expensive, and if Stoinis comes back into the team, his role will change. He probably won't most likely bowl. But in saying that, there's a good chance he's going to have dual position for starting next round too. So does he still become an option, or do we think he's not at that price, given he's a dual?
Role. It's all about role for me. I'll be watching him next game. I want to see what the role is when Stoinis is in the side and they both play together again, because last time Stoinis bowled all four. Webster, we should have started with Webster. It was we were told very clearly that he would take the maxi role, and we didn't the problem was there was three of them, Larkin, Burns, was it, and him. So, but I really like him as a buy. I also like Sutherland if he does get into the Renegade sides, points per dollar wise. There's a few, and Shadab Khan, of course. When's he leave, Shadab?
Well, Shadab's got a buy next round too.
Yeah, that's right. So, but you're talking about going forward, because the next two rounds are single rounds, right? And then we've got two big doubles in a row.
I think he's here for the double. I've got a feeling he's here for the double before he goes.
Was it round 11?
Double check that.
Round 11 he was going, I'm pretty sure. I think that's what I heard.
Yeah, because they've got the double in round 8, don't they? Isn't that right?
Yeah, round 8.
Yeah, I wouldn't be buying him next week, given they've got a buy, but he's definitely one to be looking at for the double for sure. But he's going to be about 170k now too, I think. But I like what you said about Sutherland too, because Sutherland's going to be down to about 55k.
What about the chat on Twitter, guys? Like, every single person there's talking up Shadab, and I'm saying, don't touch him, guys. Like, seriously, we don't know his role. None of them started him, and I ended up getting him.
I got him too. And what about top poor old Timmy? He said Bo Webster was the one to jump on. He never got on him.
Yeah, wow. It's the way, though. We always tip someone, and we don't follow our own tip.
Yeah, it sounds like NRL when I tip someone and they take them myself.
Yeah, right.
No one else that we don't think for single games this week that might be worth jumping on?
Well, the single games coming up, I think people will need to get players back, like Singh, Khan, maybe even Thornton. Those.
Sorry, there's one more I want to talk about, and I want to get your opinion on this because I know, in my opinion, Matt Shaw got the bye next round, but in saying that, his next three games after he has the bye, before they double, is 2 at Adelaide and 1 at Hobart. You're holding or selling? Because I know what I'm doing.
But I hope everybody sells. I
think
Yeah, because he could go massive at Adelaide.
Yeah.
Adelaide's a great batter's pitch, and he's getting that 2 overs at least every game at the moment. So I was surprised that I thought they really consider bowling him at the death there. Did you see that little meeting they had in last night's game? I was like, come on, give it a short, give me set over. But yeah, no, I reckon I'm definitely gonna be selling. I'm definitely not selling him. I'm gonna be holding him as long as I possibly can. It sounds bad having 220 odd K on the bench there for the buy round, but it's pretty loop.
I just think given there's 2 games at Adelaide and 1 at Hobart, there's a chance you could bowl forward both of those games, all those games too.
Hobart's pretty good for spin, isn't it? Like, I know,
Try not to sell your all-rounders, guys. That's my advice, because the next 2 rounds after this round are single game rounds, and you want to maximize your opportunities. And in my opinion, already.
Say what he's saying. I shouldn't have sold Sam.
Absolutely shouldn't have. He's going to kill you tonight. You watch.
One thing, you got to think if everyone's thinking about selling Matt Shaw, you got to also think about in the current state. Imagine, I know he's not playing this year, but he's doing the same thing that Mitch Marsh did last year. Would you sell Mitch Marsh? No, you wouldn't. So to me, that's what he's doing right now. He's doing that Mitch Marsh kind of stuff with he's getting big scores and bowling overs. So yeah.
And he's an aggressive batsman. I love Short. He was good last year. I started him at the beginning of the year last year, never let him go the whole year. He was just, he made good money, and he's got that beautiful role. He opens the batting. He's an aggressive batter, so he's going to get his strike rate, and he also bowls, and he often bowls that first over, which can pull in a wicket. Often.
Well, he did the last 2 games. He's pulled in a wicket both for the first over he's bowled. He did last night too against the Scorchers.
Yeah,
he got back didn't he? First over.
Yeah. That's right.
This just in, guys. Maxi Bryant is now out. Chris Green bowled and caught, I think, Kadir, it looks like.
So, the game started.
Yeah, that's right. I'm still got it on my phone here, ready to go. So
7:15, the game started.
I apologise to everyone on our page. I didn't post the sides. Or if I did, I don't remember. I always post the sides, and I just totally forgot, guys. So I hope no one got stuffed up by it. But it's the end of the round, not the beginning. So your sides should be pretty set anyway.
That's it. All right, guys. That pretty much wraps everything else up there, guys. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we head off?
No. I'm
all good. All right, guys. Well, I'll get this posted up straight away. So, we'll talk to you next week. Peace out.
So you want to be a champion?
Men plus the keeper around the batsman.
There we go. Fleming took the last one. Merv Hughes before him.
That's a hat-trick to Shane Warne, a great moment in his career. What a catch by David Boot. You won't see many better catches at forward short leg than that one. The Aussies are all around, and have a look at that.